a recipe for chickpea curry, even though it's not really a recipe because I'm going to use the curry sauce that I made and jarred a couple of weeks ago. So dead easy from that point of view. I jarred it, you can freeze it. I just kind of think it takes up a lot of space in the freezer, which I could use for other things. So there's 600 milliliters of curry sauce in the jar. There is a video on how to make it. I won't do a link because you can find it yourself because you're all grown-ups. And then there's 600 grams of that's the cooked weight of chickpeas. So the were dried chickpeas, I've soaked them and I've cooked them, kept the juice. We'll use that for something. And I did cook more chickpeas than I needed, so I'm not entirely sure if we're going to need more than 600 grams of cooked chickpeas. What we'll do is we'll add curry sauce, and then if we need to add more chickpeas, we'll add more chickpeas. But what we're really going to do is basically just bring it up to temperature and then just have it on a really low heat, just for an hour and a half, just to kind of get that flavour of the curry into the chickpeas. And then I'm going to serve it with the cheap rice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to agitate it a little bit, the cheap rice, and then so it becomes a little bit sticky. So that's kind of like, it would be like a stickier rice. And then I've got some parsley. I bought it. It's not essential for the dish. And I didn't want coriander. I just wanted something a little bit different, so I'm going to use parsley to finish off the curry today. It's not essential that you use herbs. It's just that I was passing the fruit and veg shop and I had some parsley, and I just kind of thought, I'll put some parsley in tonight. So it's a bit of an extravagant. It was £1 for all that, which I kind of think is a little bit too expensive for parsley, especially when you can buy pots of it or grow it yourself for next to nothing. So 600 grams of chickpeas and a sauce on top, and as always, just a little bit of water, although I might add a little bit of milk later on just to get rid of the rest of that sauce out the jar. And then heat under the chickpeas, give them a stir, and then do we need some more chickpeas? No, I think that's good. So yeah, so 600 milliliters of sauce, 600 grams of cooked chickpeas. Dried beans, chickpeas, pulses, that type of thing. Your basic ratio is if you want 600 grams of cooked chickpeas, you would soak 300 grams, probably not, a little bit less, like 300 grams of between 250 and 300 grams of dried chickpeas. That's the basic ratio. In my eyes, they double in size when they're soaked and cooked. So that's it. Up to temperature, then a slow heat for an hour and a half, just so all the fuses mix with each other. I normally add a little bit of milk, but I don't think it will need it because the curry is a little bit milder, whereas the milk just tends to make things a little bit milder. So that's it. Up to temperature, slow simmer, hour and a half, 2 hours, back of the stove type of thing, and then we'll cook the rice, chop the herbs, stalks as well. Put that in, put the herbs into the chickpeas last minute, and then that'll be it. It'll be lovely, and it'll be really cheap as well. Really, really cheap, this one. So the curry has had a couple of hours cooking. Well, not really cooking, but just warming it through slowly, and it's all nice and thickened up. So I've chopped the herbs, and as you can see, there is quite a lot of stalks in there as well, which I always like. Don't chop your herbs too small, otherwise all you really do is chop all the flavour into your chopping board. So, but not too, you don't want whole leaves in there, you just kind of want to chop them up a little bit. So last second, all we want to do is just warm the herbs through. Parsley works really well in curries, if I'm honest. If you don't like coriander, parsley is lovely, and because you're not chopping it up, it takes on a whole different kind of flavour. So that's that. That can live on there for the second, and then so rice it's the cheap rice. You just got to be a little bit careful with it. So I've done the absorption method, so it's 2 parts water to 1 part rice. I've added a little bit more water because it can cook a little bit uneven, and salt in there as well, 100 grams per person. And what we're going to do is this is an optional extra, and so is the herbs. We're going to make the rice sticky, and I'm going to stir in 25, well, so if it was per 100 grams, I'm going to put in about 12 grams of butter, and we're going to stir that in. I've got wooden spoon is better. So it's going to make the rice a little bit sticky, and it's also going to add like a really nice richness because of the butter. So now it's going everywhere. Think risotto, but it'll just make it just that little bit nicer and sticky rice. So we'll just make a right mess of that. So lid back on for the second, let that butter melt, and then hopefully I won't make as much of a mess when I take it out. Got a bowl there. So, and we'll talk about, I've done a rough costing. So if you include the butter and the herbs, it works out at £2.99 for 4 portions, which is 75p per portion, which is cheap and it's a nice filling meal. If you leave out the herbs, which are quite expensive, and the butter, which is kind of quite expensive, it comes in at £1.71 for 4 portions, which is that's 42p a portion, which is remarkably cheap in my eyes. So the butter will have melted, but it was a rough calculation, was that? So it's I'll do a proper one in the description. So the rice is going really sticky, which is not really what you'd want with rice, but I quite like sticky rice with things. So that's that. That's about half of it, so that's about 100 grams. That, and then get rid of that spoon because we don't need that. That's good size 4 portions, and that is an extremely delicious, cheap meal. You kind of think all that for at the cheapest 42p, and at the most expensive 75p for a meal. That's cheap, and that's it. I'm sure. Don't think I've got anything else to say. No, that's it.